Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unlocking the secret architectural blueprint behind absolutely every successful business decision. Have you ever wondered why some product launches are just massive hits, while others completely flop? Well, the secret almost always lies in the groundwork done way before the product is even built.
Think about it for a second. Would you ever build a house without a blueprint? No way, right? So why on earth do so many companies try to launch products without a proper research design? It's honestly a disaster waiting to happen. In the business world, jumping straight into gathering data without a solid plan, it's basically like laying bricks without knowing where the walls are even supposed to go.
So the crucial point is, without that structured blueprint, you're left with biased data, irrelevant results, and ultimately totally failed product launches. A lack of structure just leads to wasted time, squandered resources, and incredibly costly business mistakes. Mistakes that, frankly, could have been completely avoided with just a little bit of foresight.
To make sure we avoid those costly mistakes, here's our agenda. First, we'll cover the ultimate research blueprint. 2, exploring the unknown. 3, making conclusive decisions. 4, snapshots versus time-lapses. And finally, 5, proving cause and effect.
Okay, let's dive into this with Section 1, the ultimate research blueprint.
So what exactly are we talking about here? Put simply, a research design is a structured plan outlining the specific steps needed to collect and analyze data to solve a research problem. It's the absolutely vital link that connects theoretical concepts to actual, observable business reality. It guides literally every single step, from deciding who you're going to observe to how you'll record the data, all the way to how you'll analyze the findings to draw those big conclusions.
The source material actually puts this perfectly. It says, a research design is as important to a study as a blueprint is to building construction. It's not just a methodology or a single isolated method. It's the entire strategic framework that ensures your research process is practical and completely aligned with your actual business objectives. But why does this level of intensive planning matter so much? Because it guarantees two fundamental pillars of any trustworthy business decision: reliability and validity. Reliability means your results are rock solid and consistent. Like, if you run the study again under the same conditions, you get the exact same conclusions. Validity means you're actually measuring the right thing in the first place. Together, these two pillars minimize wasted time and resources, and they eliminate those crippling biases that can ruin a project. And this brilliantly illustrates the entire roadmap of research designs. You see, the overarching research design splits into two main branches: exploratory and conclusive. From there, conclusive branches further into experimental and descriptive, which itself gives us cross-sectional and longitudinal options. It's like a giant puzzle, so keep this family tree in mind as we navigate these paths today.
Let's transition into the first major branch of our taxonomy, Section 2, exploring the unknown. Imagine for a second you own a restaurant, or maybe you're planning to open one. How do you actually measure the ambience of your place? It's a highly subjective, really complex business scenario straight from our text. How do you quantify the volume of the music, the style of the furniture, or the warmth of the lighting, especially when every single customer perceives those things completely differently?
Well, this is exactly where exploratory research comes in. It helps us zoom in on these super complex problems. It's actually the simplest and most flexible method available to a researcher. It's absolutely perfect for when a topic is fuzzy, difficult to measure, or just impossible to strictly quantify using standard numerical data.
Because exploratory research is unstructured, it's highly flexible, and it's deeply insightful. Through methods like focus groups or sit-downs with industry experts, it helps us clearly define the problem, uncovers deeply held customer beliefs, and suggests possible solutions before we go and commit to a much more rigid, expensive study. Think of it as the initial creative sketch you do before you draft the strict architectural blueprint.
Now, once we have that initial sketch, we need to solidify our plans. That brings us to Section 3, making conclusive decisions.
Let's actively contrast these two so we really nail the difference. While exploratory research is flexible, unstructured, and gives us these broad, qualitative insights, conclusive research is the exact opposite. It's precise, highly structured, and relies heavily on hard, quantitative data. Basically, conclusive research takes those broad ideas we just sketched out and tests them definitively using large, representative samples.
Let's anchor this in reality with another great scenario from the source text. Imagine a tech company is planning to launch a brand new smartphone. How do they know which new features their customers value the absolute most? They can't just guess or rely on a tiny 5-person focus group if they're going to invest millions into manufacturing, right?
In this case, they'd use a conclusive descriptive design. This blueprint is totally pre-planned and systematic. The company would survey a massive, representative sample of their target audience using strict quantitative surveys. For example, they'd explicitly ask respondents to rate battery life versus camera quality on a numerical scale of 1 to 10. This specific descriptive data guarantees a data-driven final decision, practically guaranteeing a successful product launch.
But descriptive research has its own distinct branches too. Let's look at Section 4, Snapshots versus Time-lapses.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how the choice of respondents completely changes the nature of these two blueprints. A cross-sectional design is basically a snapshot. It looks at a single period in time using different participants to understand present behavior today. But a longitudinal design, that's a time-lapse. It tracks the exact same participants over an extended period to measure how things develop and change. Your choice entirely depends on whether your business needs a quick pulse check right now, or if you need to track shifting opinions over weeks or even months.
Finally, we transition to the last and arguably most rigorous type of conclusive research in Section 5, proving cause and effect.
Consider this incredibly common business assumption. How do we know for sure that dropping our price will actually increase our sales? Lots of managers just assume this is a universal truth, but as the text points out, in certain competitive contexts, it just isn't true at all. So how do we actually prove that relationship?
Well, we use an experimental blueprint. Because descriptive research can't prove cause and effect, it only shows association. To prove it, we follow 3 crucial steps. Step 1, we actively manipulate the causal or independent variable, in this case, the price. Step 2, we tightly control the environment, managing any extraneous variables that might mess up our results. And Step 3, we measure the true impact on the dependent variable, which is our sales. Without this highly controlled experiment, a business is essentially just guessing at causal relationships. Let's move to and see how this builds, bringing it all together to look at the complete architectural blueprint for business research one last time. We've seen how exploratory research helps us define fuzzy concepts like ambiance, how descriptive research gives us conclusive, hard data on things like smartphone features, and how experimental research definitively proves cause and effect, like the relationship between price and sales. Every single piece of this taxonomy fits perfectly together. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. Think about it. If your next big business idea fails, was it truly a bad idea, or did you just build it with the wrong blueprint? Choosing the right research design isn't just some boring academic exercise. It's quite literally the foundation of business survival and success. Thanks for joining me for this deep dive, and I hope you leave today feeling totally empowered and ready to draft your own master blueprints.